right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ANC podcast. We are here with our special guest today. We have none other than the one, the only Rhino. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Right.
Thank you again, Rhino, for taking the time out of your day to come and join us today, man. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
As you can tell, I went tanning in the tanning bed and they put new bulbs in, so my face is bright red. And you can see I wear goggles. So.
Yeah. I was thinking, man, it's winter time and you looking almost as dark as I am. So I was like, okay.
They say tan fat looks better than regular fat. That's what Arn told me years ago. So I go and tan quite a bit.
Yeah, that's good.
I think if I tan and then I wear a singlet, I should be okay.
Oh yeah. Rhino, I got to ask you though, man. What was the spark for you in wrestling?
When I was a kid, I was watching wrestling, and it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I would love to do that, but I never thought I would. Back in the late '80s, mid '80s, late '80s, you had guys like Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, even Hulk Hogan, and Paul Orndorff, and all these guys, and they were larger than life, and I never thought I would get as tall, let alone as big, and be able to do it. And then, then one thing led to another. My senior year, there was a couple of guys I went to school with. They really, they were still involved in wrestling and going to the shows and stuff, and meeting the guys at the airport. And they were telling me that they're right around 6 foot. And I knew I was going to hit a growth spurt, like Bret Hart was a champion at the time. So I'm like, you know what, let me look into it and go from there. So, but yeah, it was definitely as a kid. So.
That's awesome.
Nice.
What was the one thing that led you into ECW?
Oh, geez. I knew I'd meet up with Chili Willie and we'd have some great I never actually, Chili, I don't know about you, how you got involved with ECW and your road. I'm sure we talked about this before, but I never wanted to go to ECW. That was never my intention because I never seen I seen the early stuff because I'd get up probably like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it would come on like WADL in Detroit, and then I would get ready for work, and that's when I was really starting to that was in '94 when I was really starting to think about schools, and then I remember Mikey Whipwreck and Mr. Hughes and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, it was still early in ECW, but I think it was still Eastern Championship Wrestling at the time. So it was like an independent show. And I started learning about independent shows. And that's what it was. But the product level or the production level wasn't high. So I figured, okay, well, this is some of the stuff where I've got to start, on indie shows. So, and then you started hearing more about ECW when they started doing the stuff with Raven and Sandman and the Sandman's Kid, and then all the other antics like the hardcore stuff and all the blood. And I thought from first bell to the last bell, that's all it was swinging chairs and just blood. And I wanted to be part more of wrestling and having a not necessarily a character, but charisma and stuff like that. So in '98, that's when I realized that it wasn't just that. Ulf Herman, he was telling me, because he went over in '98 and then he came back to Germany to wrestle. And he was telling me how, there might be one match like that, but a lot of them, you had your Dean Malenkos, they were already gone. But then he was telling me some of the guys in some of the matches and how ECW had gained. It's because you had a variety of things, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me get in touch with Sabu, Pee Wee, and Sabu, and then the rest is history. So,
wow.
Well, they didn't actually get me a spot there. Pee Wee told me when the tryouts were and everything in Michigan. So, and then shortly after that, I think Chili, you came aboard. So I know
I didn't come into I came in 2000, and I was invited up with CW and Steve Carino, and then I got on the ring crew. That's how I got in. I got in. Tommy said you can get on a ring crew, and then you can also wrestle. So that's how I got in. And so I didn't know anything about ECW too. I tell a lot of people on different podcasts. I had no clue about ECW, man, because in North Carolina we didn't get MSG.
Yeah.
A lot of unless you subscribe for it, and so I didn't know about it until CW went, because CW taught me. And so I had no clue about what ECW was. I didn't know the background or nothing, And so that's basically my introduction into CW and Steve Carino. And that's how I got in. But I got a question for you. Who two questions real quick. Who trained you? And how did you stay in the business so long when others have, fallen away? Like you went from ECW to WWE. Now you in Impact Wrestling. I mean, is it your attitude? Is it what is it? Tell the people how can one be relevant when it comes to pro wrestling?
Well, I know where all the bodies are buried, so that's how I stay with the job. No, it's a joke. No. What was the first question? Oh, who trained me?
Scott D'Amore?
Yeah, Scott D'Amore, Mickey Doyle, and Denny Cass. Because Scott actually started the school, but he was kind of a couple of years into the business. And he was still learning himself, but he was actually really good at the time. So Mickey Doyle was more or less he was Rookie of the Year in 1971 for Big Time Wrestling. And he had a long career at that point. And I'll never forget walking in the first time. It was September 24th, 1994. He had a pair of shorts on, and they were white shorts. And on the left leg, it had a picture. It was printed on. It was a full picture of Michael Jordan, right? And really? I remember, I'm like, those are pretty cool shorts, right? So I'll never forget. And then he didn't have a shirt on because they had already started. And I called Mickey first because there was 2 numbers on the card, and I figured I'll call the U.S. number because he was in St. Clair Shores, and because it wouldn't have charged me international, to call to Canada. So he goes, come on down. Well, it was a Thursday. I believe it was a Thursday. He goes, come on down. It's not for everybody. There's not a fee. If you like it, and that's that. So I got in the ring. Once I stepped foot in the ropes, through the ropes, even though it was a crappy ring, I fell in love.
Nice.
So,
nice.
But to stay relevant, I always try to say, you have to have a good work ethic. That's really important. You also have to have a good rapport with the guys, and it's not easy though, because there was several years where I was doing independence and stuff, and right after Impact. And right before I went back to WWE, and it was like 4 years. But I also stayed relevant because I'd worked for Ring of Honor. And the deal was Cornette. He was always a big fan of mine. And he goes, the pay's not much, but he goes, I think you can help a lot of the guys out here. It would be fun. You come in with the guys with from Detroit, like Truth Martini, Elgin, TD was in the car too. There was like 7 of us, and we'd pack in a minivan. We go there, do the tapings, and come back, and then we would do some of the live events too. I wasn't on all the shows, but for about 2.5 years, I was on all their TVs, and then I was doing some of the live events. I remember the first time I met Bruno Sammartino. It was for a show in Pittsburgh for Ring of Honor.
Wow.
And it was really cool just listening to him and the stories. And did you ever get a chance to meet him?
Yeah,
Chili?
Yeah. He called one of my matches right before I went to ECW in Philadelphia. I was actually wrestling one of the pit bulls from ECW, the one that passed away. What's his name? The bald-headed one.
Not Gary. I know
Anthony.
who you're talking about.
Was his name Anthony or something like
Yeah,
that? Anyway,
Anthony,
yeah. So I worked him, and Bruno was he called my match, and I was really like, I was starstruck, and I met Sid Vicious, and I was like, oh. And after that, it was like soon after that, I went to ECW, man. So that was my claim to fame of meeting the famous Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. Well, I remember shaking his hands, and I've got decent sized hands, but it was like shaking a brick. I'm like, this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
no doubt. Even at his age.
Yeah. But you knew you were meeting someone really, really cool and stuff. And what you get that his presence. It just it was at I think it was 2012 when Edge was inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he asked me if I could come and stuff like that, and I said yeah. And then I went to the after party at WrestleMania, and I seen Bruno there, and I got a picture with him. For some reason, I'm like, you know what? I want to get a picture with Bruno. Bruno, do you mind? And I forget his name. I'm drawing a Conrad. He does the podcast with. Yeah. He was actually talking to him, and I'm like, hey, Conrad, can you take this for me? And he took the best picture too. I'm horrible at taking. Even though you might be 10 feet in front of me, it'll look like, for some reason, I don't know how I do it, but it'll look like you're 1,000 feet from me. So I'm the worst. My ex-wife pointed that out. So like, why do you have all this? You can center the people. I'm like, didn't you crop that out? And this is back when you'd have to take the film to someplace and get it developed and all that.
Oh man,
terrible. I was terrible at taking. Yeah, he took a really good picture.
I took a picture with him, and I took a picture with him with a Polaroid. So I still have that somewhere in my mom's house.
Yeah. I wish they still made Polaroids. I'll tell you. Now everybody has a phone and stuff.
Yeah. What was there anybody else that you met that meant that much to you?
What's funny is the first time, because this was in 1995, it was a match with it was a pay-per-view. It was it was at the Hare Arena in Dayton, Ohio, and it was Macho Man versus Ric Flair, and Macho Man's dad was in the corner. Wow. And I was supposed to wrestle Road Warrior Hawk. Just a job guy, get beat up. Some reason Hawk didn't make it, and I ended up wrestling him for TV tapings down in Florida like a couple of weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So they ended up doing that match anyway. So they said, and I had never met Hulk Hogan, and how when you get in the business, and I was only in the business for about 5-6 months, but I could bump and do a good job, So they go, maybe we might use you as security to hold Hogan back. He didn't have a match, but he walked halfway down the aisle, and then he was, escorted back. And I'm thinking, wow, I get to touch him, So, and then they go, at TV, things change, right? So they go, no, we're not going to do that. So, and they still paid you, but I ended up sitting there, and it was $150, and I'm like, I'm rich. I'm $150. I'm rich, and so anyways, I was watching the monitor, the show. Then like Hogan, I seen Hogan, and he dressed up like in his spandex and his belt and all that stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's Hulk Hogan, right? And I'm 19 at the time, and I'm and I've already broken in the business and all that, and he was 44 at the time. Because I looked at how old he was. So, like a couple years ago, I looked at him. Right? So I'm sitting there, and then this was when the Big Show, he was known as the Giant. That's when he started to debut. I think he sat in the crowd a couple times, but that night he was sitting in the crowd, and he had a big trench coat, and they'd get him, and then he'd walk off, right? So Hogan, even though he didn't have to wrestle, he cracked open a beer because we've probably wrestled there before at the Hare Arena for ECW in Dayton.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
They had like a couple locker rooms, and then they had like little locker rooms, and Hogan was in one of those, and then there was like a big cooler. It looked like they held pop, but he had beer in there, right? And even at 19, I don't know why I was thinking this, but the kid came out, man. It's like he said, train, city prayers, eat your vitamins. He never said anything about alcohol, right? So
that's true. Yeah.
I'm like, he's drinking a beer, right? And he's got abs and stuff, and I'm working out at the time, and I'm like, I know beer is not really good for you if you want to stay in shape, but I learned some people can drink beer and it won't affect them like as if I drink beer. I'd gain 5 pounds.
Right.
So then I go, you know what? I know he's well over 21, so that's okay. One beer, he wants to knock the edge. And my dad, he drank beer. So I'm starting to make excuses for him. Then he grabbed another one. And I'm like, okay, so literally he had 6 beers. And right. And he was fine. All he had to do was walk out and get pushed back. But and it was over the course of a couple hours, But I counted every single beer, and I literally at that 6th beer, I just literally threw up my hands in my mind. I'm like, well, that's it. I'm not making no But yeah, that was kind of like a mark out moment, and he could tell that I was looking at him when I watched the monitor and stuff, and he could tell that being young, and I probably watched him as a kid and stuff like that. But he'd catch me looking at him, so and I was really counting beers.
I got a question for you, Chili and Rhino. People talk about the Mount Rushmore of WWE. The Rock, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Steve Austin. But what's the Mount Rushmore of ECW for you guys?
Ooh.
I would.
You go
Chili,
ahead.
You want me to go ahead?
You go ahead. Yes. You've been there longer than I have, so.
I think it would have to be Taz, Raven, Sandman, and Sabu.
Ooh.
I think, yeah. Those guys seem like, Tommy Dreamer. It's, actually Tommy Dreamer's got to be on there. That's a tough one because you had a lot of those guys that started, and then you had guys like Chili Willie and Carino step up. Even Jack Victory, even though he wrestled some before I got there, but he was a very important part. And like even Dawn Marie and Francine, and it's just like there were so many people that Rob, even Fonzie, it's just so many people made that and it stitched it together. So that's definitely a tough one. What about you, Chili?
Yeah, I would probably say Paul Heyman, Tommy Dreamer, definitely them two. To put in 2 more, that's hard. Like you said, that's hard. There's so many talented people there. Yourself, you got guys at New Jack. There's so many. I wouldn't even know where to go. But because even before that, there were so many superstars that was in ECW. The Dudleys, you can't leave them out. Mike Awesome, So I don't know. That would be hard for me to answer that one.
Definitely a tough one.
Definitely,
But yeah, and see, that's the cool thing about ECW is like you had guys like New Jack and the Gangsters, and they brought something different.
Yeah.
And and I worked with New Jack, and thank God he liked me. Did you work with him a lot? I know you worked with him.
No. Maybe they put me with him like maybe once or twice. They put me with Sandman once or twice, but mostly I was with Balls, and then I worked some with you, and then the other, was the Angel and DeVito and them guys, So
yeah. My brother Jim, he really liked you, and then when we started wrestling, when
nice.
when you would come down and then because I never sometimes I'm oblivious, right? And then didn't Paul you were from whatever town we were wrestling in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My brother, like, because I'm like oblivious to all that stuff because you really don't pay attention to certain things. Even though I'm at the arena and stuff like that, my brother was the one
I'm the
pointed
same,
out to me. Yeah.
I'm the
And then,
same way.
yeah, so which I thought was brilliant. And then,
Right.
yeah, and then when we started working together, I think he still cheered for you. But he kinda,
I didn't know that. Tell him thanks.
yeah.
But I gotta admit, man, the first time that Paul said I'm gonna do something, you're gonna do something with Rhino. I'm not. I swear to God, man, I was like shitting my pants. I was like, oh my God. I was like, are you serious? And I remember you calming me down, like, hey, just take it easy, bud. It'd be easy, be nice. But you don't even know the crap that was coming out my pants. When I knew that I was gonna do something with you.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm about to do something with this dude, man. And I've seen you, and I said, oh my God, you're gonna spare me, whatever, man. I was really petrified, but I didn't let you know it. But you really helped me out a lot because I was like,
that's what I try to do sometimes. Is like a buddy of mine, I just worked them, and I'm kind of taking him under my wing and stuff like that. And we became friends. He came up here to train with Scott, and we just worked. And for some reason, he was getting really worked up, and I'm like, you got to calm down. And we've worked before. So, and I think what happened was we looked back, and he did a promo, and he wasn't comfortable with that. So his mind was still on the promo. So it's hard to, get focused on what we're doing. But yeah, I usually tell people I like going into indie shows because I enjoy traveling. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy the meet and greets and stuff like that, and the fans and interacting with them. And then, but I like messing with the boys because you get a young guy coming in, and it's like, when they watch you as a kid, they're like, wow, cool. I get to meet him and stuff like that. He's going to be on the show. Mm-hmm. And then what's really funny is they'll come up to me, and you can tell they're a little nervous, right? Because, they'll see whatever. They don't know how I'm going to react. And then my buddies that are, I know and I've been on shows before, they came with me, and, they know, my shtick, right? So I'll see a guy that's really nervous. When he comes up and says hi, and I'll shake his hand, and I'll go, wow, you have really beautiful eyes. And they do not know how to take it, right? So I just look at him, just like that. I go, wow, you have really pretty eyes, or you have really beautiful eyes. And the thing is they're taken back because that's the last thing they expect to hear from me.
They never expect it. Yeah, right.
They might get the, hey, how you doing? And I go back to what I'm doing, or hey, nice to meet you, whatever. But it throws them off, right? Now they don't know what to say. So literally 90% of the time, they'll just go, oh, thank you. And then I take it a little further, right? I go, maybe after, your match, maybe I can not take pictures, but maybe photograph you, And then they're just like, where is this going? Right? So what I'm doing is I'm throwing their mind way over here. Right. And my buddies and everybody know they've seen me do this before. Right. So I'm like, yeah, maybe, no shirt, jeans, this and that. And then they're like, where is my life right now? And because you take them out of their nervousness, and then you bring them to someplace, and then I start laughing, and then we all start laughing. And I'm like, man, I'm just kidding. Wow. Right. And then they breathe, trying to relieve, and they're like, and then they realize, like, you're one of us, it's like, so now their guard of being nervous and all that stuff, because I took them on a mental ride, like, where is this conversation going, and where am I at right now? Like, I'm meeting a guy that people, and he's telling me I have beautiful eyes, right? So what happens is that now they're comfortable. So when you become comfortable, then they come up to you and ask questions. It's like, hey, if you get a chance, can you watch my match? And then, because before they would be so nervous and they wouldn't ask. And then, if I have time, then I try to get all my stuff figured out and all that stuff, and I'll watch their matches. And then I always start off, Raven will come up to you and go, oh, you did this, this, and that wrong, right? And you're like, wow, I feel like a piece of crap. I always tell them what they did right, you know, because then it builds them up. And then I always tell them this is what you should work on, you know, because then it doesn't really defeat them, you know. So, and what's really funny is a lot of times I'm leaving, you know, I got my bags, the show's done. And the guy will always go, hey, man, what about those pictures? You going to take them? So they feel so comfortable. And we, you know, everybody laughs and stuff. I'll be like, maybe next time, you know, I got to get out of here. But the whole point is to bring them to a place where they're like, so they're taken away from, I'm meeting someone I watched when I was a kid to, okay, I'm in this place. I don't know where it's going. And then you bring them out of it. And then they're like, wow, this guy's just a normal guy. Right. So then, you know, the comfort sets in. So, but no, it's funny, but I enjoy messing with people and stuff like that on the road. So
that's great, man.
Tell Scotty I said hello, man. We got to get him on also. Tell him I said hello.
For sure. Yeah, he's doing good. I guess he does a lot of cardio and stuff like that. And yeah, he's sitting at home. I think he said he had a stent put in or something, so he really can't go out and, you know, if he gets COVID and stuff like that. So he's been sitting at home, and I think he said his wife is, you know, kind of looking after him and stuff. So he does a lot of cardio at home. But yeah, I'll definitely tell him you said hi, and I'll pass on your info.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's really cool. He's really smart though. Yeah. When it comes to wrestling, and he's a genius. Did he ever tell you that?
Yeah, Raven's good. Yeah, no, I didn't know that until someone told me that. But I thought they were talking about wrestling, like, you know.
Yeah. No, he's like part of Mensa and all that stuff. Yeah. I didn't know that. And, you know, met him. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm a genius. I'm like, oh, okay. That explains a lot. They usually say geniuses are crazy. So I'm like, I can see you're a genius. So, I don't know if you were in Kansas City. It was in, I think it was Kansas City. And we did a show. And it was after the show, but Raven and Paul, they were yelling. I mean, they were down the hall and they were yelling. Yeah. And then, I mean, it was just like, wow, they really hating each other. But yeah, it was just like for 20 minutes. Yeah. Wow. And then it was one of those things where they were fine afterwards. But yeah. So. Yeah.
Dang, man.
we have a lot of those stories, you know. We have a lot of those locker room stories, you know. I remember when in Florida, when Sandman, when the Sandman and New Jack got into it, you were right in the middle of it.
Oh yeah,
remember that one?
That was in Duluth. That was in Duluth.
Yeah, Duluth. Yeah, somewhere. So yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah. See, right there, you know what I wish what they would have done is went off to the you know, outside or into an empty room. That's the only thing I wish. But what I liked about it is they got into it and it was done. It was done and over with.
It was done,
you know?
yes.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's how the locker room was.
Yeah. It was no carrying a grudge, no nothing, you know, and they were great friends before that. And yeah. And then it was and that's what I liked about it, you know. And I actually I forget what it was. I worked with New Jack, and I love New Jack. There was something, he heard something, right? And he called me and he asked me about it, opposed to, you know how some people are, they'll fucking manipulate and this and that and plot against it. He came right to the source, and I forget what it was, nothing major, but he's like, hey, I heard this, this, and this. And I remember I was building a deck on my trailer, right? And I'm like, my buddy's helping me, and I'm like, you know, I forget what it was. It wasn't nothing major. But it was cool that he actually called me and said, hey, Rhino, you know. And I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't steal the drugs out of your bag. Why would I do that? No, I'm kidding. I'm not saying that he had drugs in his bag, you know. I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he came into WWE, they brought him in for something. And I mean, he looked great. Like, and Lance Storm said something. He goes, "It's pretty bad when New Jack looks better than anybody in your locker room, and you're,
Wow.
you're in WWE, right?" So he, it was funny. Yeah, because you never expect. New Jack was never a body guy.
Yeah.
New Jack was never a guy. Yeah, and I mean, he looked fucking great.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Rhino, what's your opinion on when AEW started, they were comparing it to ECW. What are your thoughts about that?
I think I met Tony Khan, and great dude. Yeah, great dude. He's just got like a good aura about him. And then he's just investing. And I think whenever you start up a company, you will make mistakes. Even WWE, they're a fine-oiled machine, and you do make mistakes and stuff like that. And it's kind of like you're growing, So let me try to close the blinds. There we go. So you're growing and you're trying to adapt. So I don't think it's anything like ECW because their production level is great. I think when they started doing no fans because of COVID and everything, I thought theirs came across really well.
Yeah.
I like it better than the Dome, even though I can understand how WWE does their stuff, and it does look good. I'm with Impact now, and I enjoy I feel if anything, Impact has more of a ECW feel because you got Tommy Dreamer there, you got Cyrus.
CW said that, yeah.
Right. You got D'Amore there, and D'Amore studied a lot of that stuff. And then you got Jimmy Jacobs, which is really creative and kind of edgy and stuff like that.
Wow.
Helping out. So and the guys can come up with their stuff. You might say we might be told okay, you're going to work with this person. You got about a minute and a half for a promo. Think of what you would say or your character. So, and then a lot of times it doesn't come across as like a B-rated thing, and it's more natural and more of a real thing. Because doing promos at night, Paul would just give you bullet points and say, roll with it.
Do it.
How'd you like those 3 o'clock?
It's a.
How'd you like those 3 o'clock in the morning promos with Paul?
Look, I try to do. I think they gave me 1 or 2. They tried to get me to do, and I was like shit at it. Tommy was like, okay, just forget about it. I was just such a greenhorn when I went into ECW, man. It was just like I was really like learning on the fly. You know what I mean? And but I tried. He tried to get me to do some promos, but I couldn't. I just couldn't get it right. But it was lesson learned. It was lesson learned.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went through the pain and the heartache. But tell Scotty D'Amore I say hello too. Please tell him. We used to wrestle. When ECW rolled through Cleveland or Toledo or one of those. I don't know, Toledo. I think we wrestled a couple of times, and now he's there when he's the vice president. Tell him I said hello, please.
Yeah, I will do. Will do. Yeah. That's the same thing with me because I never did promos before, but the benefit with being with Carino and Jack Victory and even Tajiri, he would just have me pipe in every once in a while, and promos were definitely tough, but I found that niche just yelling and this and that, and then he'd give me a little bit more. But if I had to stand out on my own and do a promo, oh geez, it's a lot tougher,
So, definitely. Tajiri's over here. Well, Tajiri came here a couple of times. There's a promotion here called NWF, Manila Wrestling Federation, and they brought Tajiri over here a couple of times. So we hung out a couple of times, man.
Oh, cool.
It was great to see Tajiri.
Yeah. When was that? How long ago was that?
Last year, actually. 2019, 18 or something like that. Yeah. He was over here, and so.
Whereabouts in the Philippines are you?
I'm in Angeles, Pampanga, Angeles. I'm
Okay.
about 2 hours north of Manila. And
Okay.
so, yeah, there's only like three promotions here: NWF, PWR, and then there's a new one called WUW Philippines. I trained some guys and some girls, about 25 of them from AEW, but that broke up. So a lot of them went to WUW Philippines. So, but they're trying to get a scene over here, But to Jerry, man, it was great to see him.
Yeah.
So
We did
I was really happy to see him.
yeah, Tajiri, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
But we did a show over there in the Philippines in Manila, and the best, I'll tell you, it was like a pilot because he wanted to, Davari ran it, and it was, I want to say in 2012.
Really?
Wow.
The catering, not the catering, but the food at the hotel, was a buffet. It was the best buffet I've ever had. Like seriously, like because we were there, and Gallows was on it, and it was a really good show.
Oh.
And the guy, I forget his name, but he put it together because a lot of he tried to be the promoter for WWE when they came over, but WWE wasn't coming over to like the Philippines a lot, or like in Russia they could have sold shows and stuff like that. So he figured he'd get like Billy Gunn was there, a lot of like WWE guys. So Davari, he reached out to Davari. Davari put it together, and it was really, really good quality lighting and all that stuff. And it was a really great show. And that was the one he was going to use to sell to to get other bookings and stuff. And the hotel was great, and the food. You had sushi. You had like anything you wanted, right? And it was
the food's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last night, I whatever I ate didn't sit well with me. So, but here's the thing. I didn't get sick. You kind of know where it's going. So they came up, and I guess they had like a nurse there, and she gave me some pills, and I ended up being fine because I literally had to fly out that night, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I don't want to be on the plane film. But looking back, the food was so good, even without, the pill that she gave me, I would have done it all over because the food was that good.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Andrew, I have to say this real quick. First of all, I want to thank you, man, for just everything you've done in my career. But when I was in the military, when I was in Iraq and I got hurt, I think WWE came over for the first time to do a tour. The very first time they started doing that tour, and you spearheaded that you wanted to come see me, but I went home. I went home because of my injury. But the first what is that? What's the name of that show they do?
Tribute to the Troops.
For the troops.
U.S.
Local. Yes. Rhino spearheaded and got everyone in WWE at that time to come to my unit just to see me, but I had left. I had left to go home.
Yeah.
I wanted everyone to know, man, that was the very first time you guys went to Iraq and did a show. And I remember, and even at my house, I got signatures of you. I want to say Stone Cold. I'm not quite sure. Sable.
Yeah, Stone Cold was there.
Yeah, Stone Cold. Everybody. Yeah.
Big Show.
I wasn't there. Yeah. Because of my injuries. I went home.
Yeah. They gave us. They would give us a coin, and I think given one to give to me or something like that, or your unit had one for me.
Yes.
But yeah, I was upset that you were home, but it was it was what it was. But I remember after you had signed with WWE, you came to a show. They brought you to a show, and you had a powder blue suit on. It was nice as hell. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I just want to know if you still have that thing because I want to buy it.
I know. I remember. I remember that time. I remember I went to the show and Batista turned around and he said, "Man, that's a sharp suit." He's like, "That's a really nice suit." And then that same time I was there, you introduced me to Chris Benoit, man, one of my favorites. I had met him back in WCW when I did the tryout for the power plant. You really introduced me to him again, so I was like, man,
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
get better. And Jericho. You
Yeah.
introduced me to Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
How's Chris doing?
He's doing really good. And, I learned so much. And I think that's where I got you really give back to the younger guys and girls, now because there's a lot of women in wrestling. And it's one of those things where when I first came in, he was really, and I was fortunate enough to work with him, but a lot of the stuff he helped me, the behind the scenes stuff, how to put an angle together, how to this, how to that. And I think that's why he's one of the great additions to the AEW rosters because, and it's funny because he always stays relevant too. Like when he would come out, like my buddy Matt, this was probably in 2009 or, when he was doing the scarf and he'd come out and I think he'd wear the scarf, but my buddy would pop, he's just like, look at Jericho. He's like, and he was a heel, right? And, and it was funny because he's like, the way he walks and the way, I think he, had shorter trunks, which got him heat, right? And then he would do the scarf and the list and all that a few years later, but he really knew how to tap into, either get you to like him or get you to hate him. Yeah. So, but it learned a lot from him. Yeah. So
that's nice. I got two final questions for you, Rhino. What are you doing outside of wrestling and what made you interested in politics?
Well, it's always good to give back, and that's the main thing. You got to really focus on giving back, and making a difference, Chili with your service, or if you just, and a lot of times, you've traveled around the world, but I noticed this in the US more so than any country I've ever been to, especially Germany. Nobody holds the door open for anybody. But when you're walking in the gas station here or the gym or the store or whatever, people will hold the door open for you.
Yeah.
And it's just, and 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, everybody says thank you. And it's just like, when you do that, it's just an act that you're kind of raised to do. And it's just like, it's just such a small act, but it's a great act of kindness. And then if you can do that on a larger scale, and I would go to like a lot of council meetings just because I'm interested in, things that go on. And I understand like councilmen and women, they have families and stuff. And, I always call it the main event. At the end, you can go up there. And if you have any questions or if you want to voice your opinion about something, sometimes fireworks will go and sometimes it's really not much to discuss. And a lot of times the councilmen or women will say, okay, we'll go see, this person and, they'll do that. It's like after the council meeting, because that's at the end, it's just like, we'll stand over there and, I'll have a word with you and, we'll try to figure something out. The very first council meeting I went to is this one guy, he had a problem with his neighbor and they probably started off best of friends. But the one neighbor put up like 25 wind chimes, right? So this is driving the neighbor crazy.
No.
So, and I'm sitting there listening and they're familiar with it because the cops would go out and check the decibel and they're like, we can't do anything about it, right? And this guy's probably in his 70s and stuff and, worked his whole life and just wants peace and quiet. And the guy's obviously doing it to be a dick, right? 25 wind chimes, you don't really need that, So
right.
No, exactly.
He had really no solution, and it's like, if I was there, I would have just said, you know what? Next time you see him, just wave. Because if even though he's got 25 wind chimes, you got to drop the gloves sometimes.
Yep.
And sometimes if you just wave and just say, hey, how you doing? The guy will realize that, you know what? Me being a dick and putting up 25 wind chimes, I'm kind of being an asshole. So let me take him down. Because if you keep on butting heads, nobody's going to win, and it's just, it probably started over something dumb. And it's like your neighbors, just even if you don't have to get along, but it's not a fight worth fighting. And then this one, I'll never forget. It's this one. For some reason, Dearborn, Michigan, could not get paid parking right for some reason, and it's not brain surgery, right? So the one guy was from California. He's talking about like. Where you swipe and this and that, or apps and all this stuff. And I'm thinking it's paid parking. Like literally, you get a meter, you put a couple quarters in and be on your way, right? So my thought process was, if you get the old meters, you don't, because if you have apps and stuff, like I'll go to Boston and it's like you have to download this, and I'm not really technically inclined, or what if you have a lady that doesn't have a smartphone, like an elderly lady? It's paid parking. Let's create some revenue for the city, and that's it. Go to someone that's really outside of it, that will really care, and kind of go into a partnership with them. Like, this is your baby. We'll give you X amount of money, but we'll split the profits. Or you get a percentage. So if I'm in charge of that, I'm going to make sure those meters are working. Because a lot of times they'll just put a bag over it and they fix it whenever. And then especially if I'm in charge of that and I'm going to learn how to fix these meters, go old school with them. And then that way, if they break down, I'll fix them right then and there, and then I'm on the field. So I know what's best to charge a dime here or a quarter here or this or that. And then it's like, I know a lot of people don't carry money, but you have, especially in lots, you have a center hub where you can swipe a card or get change right then and there. So you don't have to bother business, So there's another deal. When you're dealing with paid parking, you don't have to make it too complicated. And the machines, if you make them simple, and if they break down, you can fix them for, pennies on the dollar, opposed to, this satellite feed isn't getting this and this, so, but it's just simple things. You can bring simple solutions and, and actually really show that you care. So,
okay,
but that's more or less,
Oh, yeah.
So, and when you're able to help someone out, it makes you feel good. We all know that.
It does.
Yes, sir.
It does. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It does.
Now,
My thing is also tell Heath Slater I said hello.
Oh, I will do. He's a funny kid. He is a funny kid. Yeah. It's one time, I'll tell you a quick story. I can go on talking forever, but I got a spiritual thing I got to do. But anyways, one time I back up to or I pull up to the party store. He had to run in and grab something. So I forget where we were at, but I figure I'll back up the minivan, right? So, and I'm watching traffic, and there's no traffic, and I literally got it in gear, right? And then right as he gets in, he's closing the door, I hit the gas, and I literally jumped into the street, and I curved the wheel like at a tree, right? And the light was red, so I ended up having to stop, but I could see there was no traffic coming. And he was sliding all over the place. He was freaking out. He thought my foot got caught in the pedal, right? So literally, we jump into the street, and then I cut the wheel, and I had to hit the brakes, and literally, he's almost upside down, and he's like a cat, like, it's like, what the heck happened, right? And I just started laughing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Or real quick, he would, he would pee in the bottle, right? Because he would always he had a baby bladder, right? So he would literally turn to the side, because I like driving, and he'd prop himself up like a board, and then he'd, pee. But he's like, oh, just don't go in that lane, because we'll pass someone, right? And then he's facing the people that would pass. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll go fast. So I'm speeding, right? And then right when we get right next to the person,
you slow down.
So
that's messed up, dude. That's messed up.
He's like, go. And I'm like,
wow.
What? But I would get into that like maybe once every 6 months, So, anyways,
that's awesome.
I'll definitely tell him you said hi.
Rhino, I gotta ask you one last thing. Will you be having any cheese and crackers in Impact Wrestling?
You know what? I want to, but they don't bring them to catering. And you know what was funny? It happened.
Tell Scott to upgrade.
Right. But it's funny how that happened, because I never eat cheese and crackers.
What?
And we were doing that thing in the whatchamajigger, right? So we did that, and it was just so funny that it ended up, getting a good response. So, and then I
Wow.
was at the grocery store when I was at home, and the guy, I just grabbed a couple things, and he goes, "Oh, no cheese and cracker." Right after that started, right? And I go, "No, like, why would I have cheese and crackers?" And like, I'm like looking at the guy, and then I put two and two together. I go, "Oh, no, that's just at work, right?" So they were all out of it.
That's awesome.
Well, Rhino, it was awesome chatting with you today. I want to say thank you once again for taking time out of your day to be here with us and to help promote our podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And yeah, just send me the link and I'll put it on my page and stuff like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chili.
Yes, thank you,
guys.
Thank you, brother, man. Thank you so much, man. And tell everyone I said hello.
I will.
Thank you for meeting Andrew. Andrew is a
Yes.
young up and coming talent and out of North Carolina. So I'm glad you met him and glad he met you. So
Yes, it's nice meeting you, Rhino.
Very nice meeting you. You're in North Carolina?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nice. We'll keep in touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh,
Take
yeah.
care.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
See you, Rhino.
Love you,
Thank you
man.
again.
Be good. Later,
Love you.
man.
Take care. Bye.